Arsenal will return for their first Champions League knockout game in 7 years when they play Porto tonight. With it being a highly contested affair and could potentially have a lot of different things happen, let's have a look how Arsenal can actually win this game and why Porto can be very strong. I know a lot of Arsenal fans are going to be confident going into this game. We are on the best form and we've scored so many goals in the last 5 games, probably playing at our best in a very long time. And they have a right to be that, but there's always got to be some sort of wariness, especially in Europe. Now, I'm not going to bring up Arsenal's record in Europe and in knockout rounds in general because I don't think it's necessarily relevant with the current team that they have, especially for the fact that Arsenal are going to be going full for it rather than in the Europa League where they may have played some youngsters and players that don't get much game time. Now, Porto are a very interesting team because they have some of the things that they actually share with Arsenal but also play a very different style of football. Now, when it comes to controlling games, I'd say Porto are very much up there with Arsenal. I know the Portuguese league isn't necessarily as big for control, but Porto are a team that like having the ball a lot and having a lot of field tilt with the possession being very high. Much so they actually have average possession sitting at 62.5 rather to Arsenal's 60, so they actually have the ball a lot more and they're usually passing the ball around. Now, straight off the bat, this could definitely help Arsenal. Arsenal might have to go revert to a bit of a counter-attacking system, especially away in the first game tonight. This means Porto are going to be going for it and they are going to be trying to keep the ball and trying to get the ball out to their players, specifically their wingers. This could be very good where Arsenal cage people in on the left and right sides with their triple, triangles or quads where they keep people pinned in. Now, Arsenal have been pinning a lot of teams really far back and they've been able to exploit them with brilliant individual plays and brilliant ingenuity with everyone moving around in different systems. Now, I don't think this Porto game is going to be like that. Porto are going to want the ball, they're going to be wanting to attack in front of their home fans. And I think when you see their manager Conceição speak, I think you can see a very confident man there and I don't think he's going to be putting them in third gear and playing back. And they are a very well drilled side. They play a lot like Arsenal, want to keep the ball a lot and they let the other team barely have any shots. This season they're only giving around 9 shots a game and Arsenal giving away 8, and you think about how good they have been defensively. Porto are up there as well and doing really well. And Porto set up in an actual 4-4-2 situation. They try and get their wingers on the ball as much as possible so they can cross the ball into their tall strikers. But I will say that the Portuguese league's quality isn't necessarily consistent throughout the league, and when Porto have played in the Champions League this year, they have been really good going forward. Like they've shown, they're getting around a 2.7 average goals per game this season in all competitions. You expect them to be quite good going forward, but they have left a lot of gaps in defence. And even when Porto have the ball, they usually rely on their goalkeeper and their centre-backs to be able to pass the ball out under pressure. They have their wingers and their wing-backs kind of pushed up quite far, and often this does leave one of the wing-backs or one of the full-backs open to a pass. This does mean that they have 2 midfielders and they really rely on their 2 strikers to come back deeper to help the midfield. Someone like Odegaard's movement and positioning, and he can come back in defence, pick the ball up, move forward, and the interchanging we have, it could cause issues for them and they have not many people in there. And against Barcelona, this is a specific circumstance, but I do think they're going to be playing the same sort of level with Arsenal. They often actually got pressed in at home because they rely on their centre-backs to pass it out, and if you know that from an opposing team, it's quite easy to just mark the players man-mug in the midfield. They only have around 3 to 4 players sort of operate in that role, and a lot of them stay a lot deeper, obviously being Taremi and stuff being very tall and wanting the header down. This means against Barcelona, they often got pressed very highly, and often the striker for Barcelona actually had the ability to go press one centre-back and then the other. Now, as much as they couldn't cover both centre-backs, Barcelona had the whole midfield covered, so in order for Porto to actually get the ball out, they would have to just pass it long and hope someone knocks the ball down and they can get going. And now Porto are a little bit maybe of a more long ball side than Arsenal, but they're not really that far long balls. They don't really like the long balls and they prefer to work the ball down to the wingers so they can cross the ball into their tall strikers in the box. So this could cause them problems if they try and pass it out with the intense press that Arsenal have. They also like having a player that runs to the edge of the box to try and pick up the pieces for a second ball, or maybe be able to have that ability to get a shot away, and this could be very vital for them trying to get a goal against Arsenal. So if they do get down the wing, they may be able to pass it back, but you would help that Rice and Odegaard or someone who would play would come back. Now, I know Arsenal will probably pin them in and try and press very intensely, but I do expect Porto, at least in the first half, to have the ball quite a lot, depending on how the game goes, of course. So in order to capitulate on this the best, I think Arsenal should probably not play Trossard, because he works really well with teams pinned in, where he can use his brilliant abilities to get into great positions. Now, I know Trossard has been working really well in midfield with Havertz, and they could interchange and work like that, but Trossard in midfield could be a liability if Arsenal are not on the ball as much much as you would want them to be. So maybe having a more defensive secure player like Jorginho in a double pivot and Havertz up front might be the better option because of the physicality that brings, while having someone like Kivior also play left back and having Ben White invert. However, to counteract that, something that might be very important in this game is that Porto do actually play a very high defensive line. They are usually very organised and disciplined, and they try and block their attacking options for the other team, blocking the amount of space in the half pockets. Now I do think Trossard could maybe find space in these areas and become deeper so Havertz can make the run beyond the last defender, because I think with their high line it's going to be very important, like Burnley in the first half, we have someone who can run on the edge of the defenders. I also think because they want to press quite high up the pitch at least and not really sit back, I think Porto will give it to Arsenal, and I think this maybe cause issues for Arsenal defensively, but I think more importantly we're going to see Martin Odegaard come back and try and win the ball back, and just to help the team around him, we're going to see like he did against Burnley where he comes back, will offer the pass inside and look up. This means that Porto will know that they have some problems and probably be overmanned in midfield, in which hopefully they would move back, but I'm not necessarily sure about that because they're going to be very confident in comparison to Burnley, who were already 1-0 down in 4 minutes. I also expect if Porto aren't on the best pressing style ever, if they do try and press Arsenal from a goal kick and Arsenal pass it around, they have the worry of getting passed over the top by Raya or one of the defenders, or having quick interchange with Declan Rice and Gabriel getting out, and if Arsenal do get out it could cause some real issues for Porto, as they could probably have more men forward than they do in defence. I think this game, like any other Champions League game, is going to depend on some factors, but I do think that Porto have to be at the best of their ability to try and keep Arsenal in, and obviously Arsenal do as well. But I don't expect this game to not have any goals in. These are two teams that love the ball, they love pushing very hard and have very aggressive play styles, and while also doing that they also score a lot of goals. So they're both doing very well, and they're both very good tactical managers that really know how to make a team work, so it'll be very interesting to see this matchup. Now it's a big day for Mikel Arteta. He has to get the system right and he has to get the tactics right. If he decides to play Trossard, that is fine, but he needs to make it work, and he needs to figure out what is the best lineup we can have, with obviously Jesus and Zinchenko still not being fit. Now Vieira is back, he'll probably play on the bench, could be a good option to come on, but I'd rather see him in the second leg I think. And despite all of that, it's a very big day for Mikel Arteta, one of the biggest days for his career, his first Champions League knockout game, and he understands how much this means. He needs to get his tactical approach right, which has seen sometimes him get wrong in the Europa League, but he has been adapting and he's been superb recently. As for Porto, they're unbeaten in 10 games. They've only lost 4 of their last 17 Champions League matches at home, so do not underestimate them. They can cause Arsenal some real issues at any point in the game and are a proper team. This is a very good team, obviously for Arsenal to draw because they expect to win, but this is also a very hard tie, going to a big away game, which hopefully Arsenal can get a result or get at least something back to bring them home with at the Emirates. Thank you guys for watching as always. I really appreciate your view today. Let me know what you think about the tie, and let me know what you think the game's going to go, or come back here after the game and let me know if I was wrong or stuff churned out a lot differently. It'd be very interesting. I really hope we can win this or get a result. If you enjoyed this video, I recommend go and watch my video yesterday where I actually speak about Trossard's new role in very much big detail and why he's very important to the team. And that's all I've got to say. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it.